All right. Hello, Southenders. That's
Nice.
our loyal listeners. Episode 11. Can't wait to be saying 111. That'll be a while, but
Yeah.
it is part
Look
of the
at that,
goals this year. I think we set out to do a minimum of 12 episodes this year. So I think we're already onto our second one this year. So we should be blitzing that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a few questions from the Q&A and we've just picked a few that we're going to ask each other. So Jacob's going to go first. We'll just get a couple each and go back and forth. Things relating to the gym and business.
Yeah, ourselves. I think so. Yeah, a bit of training, but mainly sort of gym and business, I think, mate.
Yeah. I think it's always nice when because obviously we're not, this podcast isn't going out to the deep parts of the world. Well, it could be, but it's not to the deep parts of the world. It's the most rewarding thing when our members listen to it and say, "Oh, I love that episode," or "I didn't know that about you," or "That's cool to hear about the gym," or "It's cool to hear what you guys are doing on a different level," because it's not very often you get to sit down with someone, a member, and talk for half an hour about your life or whatever. So I think that's cool to give a little bit of an insight whenever we can, and it seems to at least land with a few people, which is nice.
Yep.
So would you like to, Jacob, kick us off with question 1?
Of course, Jack. So you've been an owner of Southend now for just over a year.
Yeah, I think it's almost 18 months now.
Is it?
About 16 months.
Okay.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, so say 16, 18 months. I was just wondering what your general reflections were from that past 16, 18 months, and then where do you see the business and the gym going in 2025? Broad question, so you can just take it wherever you want.
Yeah, it is broad. Because
How long you got?
Yeah, it's broad because we achieved a lot in the past year. I would say that in the first year as Southend, it's probably more than I ever thought it could be. Like I always have very high ambitions in my mind and thoughts, but you never really know if they're just like, if you're just bullshitting yourself. Like, am I just kidding myself to put this goal out there and think that it's possible? So there was a lot of that. We obviously had a lot of planning, and a lot of things go really, really well, and not a lot of things go badly, which is great. The things that didn't work out, we learn a lot from. But I think a big thing is that whole process of setting goals or setting tasks, or setting a system and planning it out and then making it happen, like just backing ourselves to make it happen. That's been like one of the biggest learnings. Like, it kind of just feels like, well, if we just think about things, like think about a goal, outline the steps to do it, even if it sounds really risky or crazy or a little bit out of our reach, just fucking try and do it anyway and start on it now. And it seems to be at least 9 times out of 10, maybe even more than that, it works. And I think always having those lofty goals and the act of trying to improve all the time almost is one of the most important things to our members, it seems. If they're using their hard-earned money and they're putting their effort in at the gym training, for them to see that the place that they love to come to is accepting that they want to improve as well, I think that's really important to them, and for them to see that reflects back on us as well. So I think that's one of the biggest things. If I look back at 2024, just setting those goals and backing yourself to achieve them. There's so many things you learn about yourself and about the people around you when you do that's been one of the most rewarding things. In in terms of moving forward, I'd like to just continue with that same sort of principle of setting plans out ahead, breaking it down into steps. And then for me, I don't think there's any reason why you can't just be super ambitious, sometimes a bit crazy. And the more things go right, the more you can take like even more risky avenues, right? So I don't know, for example, we've discussed this, that we probably thought our square meterage of a gym is a cap of X amount of members, and we're fucking way past that. And that's just as simple as ensuring there's enough class slots, enough coaches, enough options for all different types of people that's achievable to not have that limit. Like, it's far beyond what we would have originally planned out. So I think there's lots of actual goals in terms of like member numbers we want to hit, revenue we want to hit, hours of the day that we're open, different styles of classes, community events, and so many different things. But as long as
I think we've realised that we want to basically have what we think is like the best possible gym, and up there with one of the best gyms in Australia.
Yeah.
And we've kind of realised that space-wise is going to be slightly limited in that way. So then we're going to try and lean into everything else.
Yeah.
To try and make it as good as we can.
Yeah.
And I think one of your strengths, especially over the last year, where I've noticed is like you're very good at getting ahead of any potential problems and then solving those problems. Whether it's equipment, whether it's space in the gym, class sizes, programming, structure of like coaches and stuff, you're very good at being very proactive on that. So you basically get ahead of any complaints sort of potentially coming in, right?
Yeah.
Like we've always had a bit of a class size issue with 6 a.m. But we've got a little bit of a plan for that this year, haven't we?
Yeah.
Which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, a little bit of a plan around that, which is like, it goes back to like we're going to add a little bit of cost to adding in extra time slots again, which it feels like we've just done that. We've just added a bunch of time slots recently, this year actually, a few weeks ago. We're about to do that again to continue this expansion, and that's
instead of just capping it, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You could just cap it at say 250 members.
Yeah,
but instead of that, let's try to just give more options to the members.
Yeah.
So that way, more members are coming in. But
yeah, we've got space for them.
Yeah, and then on the other side, the current members now are getting more options.
Yeah,
with classes and equipment and so on.
Like, let's back ourselves. Let's pay there's going to be extra coaching fees, extra money you spend on a new program for a different style of training. All these different factors that are like you could see as risks, but like we're reaching out and taking that risk for the long-term reward. And the more we keep doing that, I think that's how we're able to continue to grow.
Nice,
so that's my main, like I said, there's lots of things you could reflect individually on backwards and forwards, but that's the main premise, I think, for me.
Yeah.
My question for you, mate, question 1. With the introduction of different training methodology trends, I would say, and there's some great ones. Our training style isn't the only great one. There's some great ones, and then there's probably some less great ones, but people still do them. People are still training, which is cool. Things like High Rocks, and there's a bunch of boutique functional fitness gyms that are popping up, lots of them, like your yard gyms and your BFTs, those sorts of things. Considering all that, what is your prediction on the future of CrossFit, which is the space that we're predominantly in?
Yeah, I think CrossFit methodology will stay around. I think the affiliates will stick around. I think they'll keep growing, maybe not as quickly as they used to. From the competitive side, I think that's where maybe we have I don't know, might seem a peak of it, potentially.
Like the professional
From
competitive?
the professional side, yeah, like that. It kind of worries me a little bit, I guess, because that's what people see, right? You got into CrossFit because you saw it on the Netflix documentary.
Yeah.
And the more money they put into media, the more it gets out and in front of people's faces. And then you got High Rocks coming up, and High Rocks has a very low level entry, so pretty much everyone can do it if you can run and stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously, and then at the same time, it's a very challenging fitness test in itself. So the numbers they're getting through there is crazy.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing, like we even spoke about today, about whether it'd be worth affiliating as a High Rocks gym.
Yeah.
Whether that's going to be worthwhile doing, I don't know. We'll see as we go through the year. And then you have these conditioning gyms. Just one of my biggest hang-ups really is functional fitness gyms, where just their level of like how they structure the classes, and more from a coaching side. So they tend to just try to squeeze in as many as they can into a class, into their usually smaller space. So you'll get gyms which are like 200, 300 square meters, and then they'll have like 30 plus.
Yeah.
Whereas like our gym, for example, is like a 500 square meter, and we'll have like 22 in a class plus them space for some open gym. Obviously we got more like equipment often, but it's more from a coaching standpoint, where there's a definite lack of coaching in those gyms in general. Obviously you get gyms which are better than others, and I have more of an insight. Like my wife Haley, she goes to more of those functional fitness gyms, and she's struggled to find like a half decent one.
Right.
And she's found one where we are now, but even the experience of coming in wasn't great, to be honest. It was like very like there wasn't a lot of attention given to her to try to get her in through the door, and then she's in, and there's just like pretty much zero coaching there. You just go in, this is the workout, and just hit it out.
Yeah.
So just running, burpees, kettlebell swings, calories. You know, it's just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know? It's whatever.
It's how long can you
but
do it
it's just
for?
like, don't you want to, and I can feel like she's getting to a point now where she wants to, like, she had an experience the other day where she was doing some deadlifts, and she asked her coach, it doesn't feel quite right. Should I be feeling it so much in my lower back? It kind of feels a bit nervy. And she, the coach looked at her and said, it looks okay to me. And that was it. Just walked off. And that kind of what annoys me about those spaces.
Yeah.
And then people get put off coming into like a CrossFit gym like ours. But then once they get in there, you're getting coached through these movements, and it's not, you don't have to, like, if you don't want to snatch and we got snatches on, we don't have to snatch.
Yeah.
We can change it. There's modifications.
Yeah.
And I think people just think it's just one option and then that's it. And there are CrossFit gyms which are a bit like that. Like we've experienced it with this new space a little bit, where it can be a bit clicky, and it can be, people feel like, oh, I can't do that because I don't know how to do this particular movement.
Right.
And what we've tried to do is lean into that beginner level.
Yeah.
Because we're all beginners, really. Like, we've been doing it for a while, but in the scheme of things,
none of us are
we're
pros.
beginners. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned how I got into CrossFit by watching the professionals, and that's what inspired me to try it. And you mentioned the potential decline of that level of competition, and I was just reflecting about how it's been such a big focus for us since about 9 months ago. We really dialed in. Our main goal was to break down that first barrier to get brand new beginners into CrossFit, just to give them the opportunity to show them that yes, there is advanced parts of CrossFit, but it literally is for everyone. And we have so much faith in our coaches, because they are actually coaches, and we're doing training. We're not just doing a workout. We're not doing a HIIT class or whatever, a circuit class. It's not that. We're actually training skills developing
I
strength.
hate coaches who are just like, come on guys, you got this, you know,
Yeah.
turning like the music up and just like shouting and clapping and
Yeah.
dancing. I hate
Yeah.
coaches who dance.
The-
Like, why the fuck are you dancing?
Yeah.
We're not out on a fucking, we're not out on the piss, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, go and help people.
Yeah.
Like, you can look at anyone and there's something you can try to help
Absolutely.
them with.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think, like, I was organizing a post for the gym today, and one of the styles of posts that I do is I take a screen recording of, in the app, the program for today, or I was actually doing it for tomorrow. And then I do a post and I show an example day so people can have a look at what's coming up in the program. And I was just going through it, and the level of fucking detail in this program is insane.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that is the difference between going to do a circuit class. Yeah, you're going to get your sweat on, but you're gonna have this level of detail, and then your coach is going to actually coach you through it and give you 50 other options to get to these certain movements. Like, that is a level where we're training here. We're not just going in to get a workout in.
And that's also what annoys me is you go to these gyms and it's just like, oh, we'll just bang this up.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just do this, which is fine again, but you could be doing the same movement days in a row, or you're not actually really developing anything to actually get better at anything.
Yeah.
So you'll get a general response, obviously, because you are moving your body and you are like working out. So you will get a general physical response to that. But then the chance of you plateauing and then not actually progression is pretty high, I would say, for most, unless you've got a particular mindset where you really are just taking yourself to, like, driving yourself to get fitter and stronger.
Yeah.
Most people in that environment aren't doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
So then the standard of improvement then just kind of drops off and it just kind of like steadies out.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of like a lot of these gyms are doing it really well, like the community factor and all the bells and whistles of a facility. That's where a lot of the offering is. Strength
and conditioning is old school. It's like the best. It's basically what we do, just with a bit more gymnastics, a bit more Olympic lifting.
It should be the bare minimum.
Is arguably one of the best ways to train.
Yeah.
I know gyms out there who do it really, really well.
Yeah.
There's just a lot out there which you just don't know what they're doing, and they just put up whatever.
Yeah, I would see that as the bare minimum that you should be offering, right?
Like, fucking fucks me off. And like, Haley will come back and she's like, oh, we were doing these. And I'm like, what, power cleans? She was like, oh yeah, we're doing power cleans. I'm like, no coaching on that. You know what I mean? They just chucked it into a workout. She's like, oh yeah, I'm really sore up through like here and stuff. And I'm like, you shouldn't be sore there for doing that. I don't know what she did.
No, that's it is a good insight into the. It'll be interesting to see what happens to the brand of CrossFit. Sometimes I explain that we have a CrossFit gym, but it feels like it is such a good training methodology, but we have so much more than that as well. It feels like almost don't want to like just pigeonhole ourselves as just a CrossFit gym, because people like pigeonhole that as that old CrossFit box mentality. Yeah, like we've talked about, but I feel like we're really
I can't do CrossFit.
Yeah,
I won't be able to do it.
Yeah, we're a long way developed from that for sure.
And that is one thing those types of gyms do tap it, because it's so like anyone can just walk in and do it.
Yeah.
What's the gym? Eden and her partner have got one.
Fit Stops,
yeah. It's like anyone can just walk off the street and do it, and just walk in and kind of do it. And that's not like factual. That's just their perceived notion on that. Yeah. And then I guess on the flip side, because of all the docos and all these super crazy jacked guys and girls doing CrossFit, they look at that and say they can't do it. Yeah. But in reality, they can do it, and they should be doing it.
Yeah, and it's a high level of coaching, so it's
and
almost
you progress
more accessible.
Up. Yeah, you progress up.
Yeah.
Rather than just going in and then just staying there.
Yeah.
Or going from a 10s to the 12s in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, on that, one thing I would say, is it seems to be we have about, from other gyms, like they either work or coach at other gyms, we have about 6 or 7 people who come to our gym to train. So it's almost like it's where coaches come to train, right?
Right, yeah.
From other gyms, without naming any other facilities or anything.
Yeah.
It's where people come to train, where coaches come to train. So I think that's a pretty good credit.
What do you think that? Do you feel like that's just from the like-minded people and maybe the community potentially?
Yeah, I think it's basically what we're.
And also, we play down our space, but our space is good in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. It's just when you move out of the east and there's a lot more space, that's where you get these gyms which are like
monster gyms with outdoor spaces and stuff like that.
But in the east, we've got like a big. Space.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky with the space for sure.
Question,
your turn. Yeah. I think you ask.
Yeah. I was just wondering what you're working on this year for yourself, whether it's like a weak area or just something you want to get better at in business and then physically as well.
Yeah, with my training. Well, my training wise, I have already started and I'm pretty happy with my progress so far. The main thing is just consistency with the training alongside the diet. I think I want it to be, obviously I've previously discussed that I'm doing a pretty aggressive sort of lean out for my wedding, but I would like that to be more of a lifestyle. And I have made some really good lifestyle changes in the past year with alcohol and diet overall. But I would like that to become more and more my lifestyle rather than, okay, now I need to pull it back. Like I don't want to get to that stage where I need to pull things back, like get things in line. I want it to be more consistently in my lifestyle. I want to be more like a lot of our members, like how they really treat it as their training as a lifestyle. Like that's what they do for their life. And I just want to get more and more to that stage, which it's moving in the right direction, which is great. I just want to make sure I can train a lot and everything is around being healthy and training a lot and finding that balance of what I can sustainably do all year round rather than having like peaks and troughs. So consistency with my training and nutrition would be my personal stuff. Business wise, lots of goals that I want to do. Obviously we're opening our second space, so we've got some goals in terms of member numbers with both spaces once we finally finalize it on that second one. And then with the business from my personal side, we've chatted about this a lot and you're doing really well on your side of this. I want to really go deep into combining my personal brand with the business brand. Not that I have a personal brand, but I want to make those two things happen. And that comes back down to consistency, like my presence online and making sure I share that journey of what I do with work, with training, with life. I want to try and make sure they're all aligned so that one is complementing the other.
It's like we were talking about, it's like there's a good opportunity there because you've already done sort of like paid ad, like you've got quite a big following. Like I remember when I first met you and I was just like, followed you on Instagram, I was like, what the fuck, why does he have so many followers? He had like 300,000 followers or something at the time. I was like, fuck me. But I know you don't like it either.
Yeah.
Like you'd rather not, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So there's like this, you're in this weird position where like really it's a good opportunity for you and the business.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it's a bit hard work for you because it's not something you'd like to lean into, really.
Yeah, it doesn't come naturally as enjoyment, but I want to try and find the way that it is, because I'm doing all these things anyway, right? I'm training, I'm eating, I'm living. I want to find a way to enjoy sharing that and like leaning right into this collaboration of Southend and myself as one thing.
Yeah.
And I think that from a business perspective, that'll be really positive as we continue to grow. So that would be my main goals, training wise and business wise, for myself. So you've been a gym owner for about 8 years or so,
Correct.
roughly.
Yeah.
What has been? There's probably lots of challenges. What has been, if you can pick out a biggest challenge, or a couple of biggest challenges?
Yeah.
And then I have a part 2 to that question as well, which came from the Q&A that we did with the members. When did you know you wanted to be a business owner rather than an employee?
So I think the biggest challenge, I think, has been, so from day one, doing all the classes, doing all the jobs related to the business. So that's pretty standard gym owner stuff, right? You are there. You're the one people see first thing. You keep the gym tidy. You do the programming. You help build the community. So you're the one building it up. So from a cultural perspective, you're like the base level. So members are coming in. They're just coming into a gym. And then you sort of set the standard for the culture, what you want to set. And then it sort of grows from there. And then you're trying to progress the gym, trying to get a certain amount of members. I've found, one, it was hard to sustain that for a long period of time. So I sustained that for about 5 years, which is probably about my limit, to be honest. But then on the flip side, I've also found it challenging removing myself from the community, which I've kind of done. Now, that's not naturally happened because we've moved out of Sydney and moved further down south. So we're about an hour and a half away from the gym now. But I have felt that's been challenging for sure.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like kind of feels like a level of guilt, even though the gym's been killing it and doing better than it ever has. And I still get worried that like people think that people think I'm not like, I don't care about the gym and I don't care about the people in the gym because I'm not there.
Yeah.
On a daily or sort of a weekly basis. And it's not the case at all. Obviously, we're always working on it. Yeah. And we're always trying to make it grow, and we would literally do anything to keep it from going backwards. It's just what can we do to sustain it for the next 10 years, 15, 20 years? And we got a few things in place, and it is just going to look different. And that's, from a mental perspective, I find challenging to like gone from gym owner being in everything to then trying to remove myself to observe from afar and then delegate and trust people, and then making sure the processes and all the ducks in a row for it to work well. Yeah. And when it works well, it's amazing. Yeah. When it doesn't work well, it's even more stressful because you're not fully in charge. You're in control of it all. You know what I mean? And we're not quite there yet because you're only close to the gym. You're close to the gym. So you're like our safety blanket, right? Yeah. You can just get in there if we need you, or you're in there every day training anyway, even though you're not coaching as much at the moment. So that will be the next challenge, is like removing you. So then when we're both removed from there and we're both overseeing, that would be the next step. Yeah, for sure. Challenge.
It is funny what you mentioned about like considering, because that is a tricky journey, but we've learnt processes of how to do that effectively.
Well, I didn't even know that was really a thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like when I was in that, that's just kind of how I thought the business looked.
Yeah, you thought that's how it had to be.
This is the business. This is how it's going to be. But then over the years, seeing gyms just fall by the wayside and just go out of business, and you're like,
what's going wrong here?
Why was that? And that was just pure burnout from the owner.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about the, like, worrying what people think. I think, like, I do it as well. Like, I worry what narratives people are putting in place. Same thing with all aspects of life, right? Like you get concerned what people are thinking. And I think, like you said, just it's not just like we're not just winging it. Like you haven't just winged it to move away and just like left it. It's about trusting your team, putting in those systems and processes to have allowed that to happen, and that just being confident in yourself that it's not like you're just being lazy and forgetting about it, right?
Yeah,
there's a whole different aspect to it.
We're trying to grow it into something bigger than ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a worry, especially early on. Now it doesn't feel like that.
Like the next step will be bringing in a manager who will be then, I guess, in essence, doing what I was doing from day one, but they're getting paid to do that as a manager.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's fine, because that's what they're getting paid to do.
Yeah.
And they love it, and they want to do it, and they want to be there.
Yeah.
And then I guess the long-term goal with them, maybe that manager then buys a percentage of the gym. Yeah. And then they would have a percentage of a gym, and then they get a manager, and then it sort of like all filters down a bit, you know?
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely a few ways that it can go, and it's like, it's not like you're just removing yourself because you don't want to do the work. It's thinking about the future of the space, right?
Yeah.
As the brand of Southend, as this bigger thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is scary, for sure. It is very scary. Yeah, when did you know you wanted to own a business and not be an employee? Obviously you were a PT, so you're kind of, for a long time, pretty much your own boss.
Yeah.
But when it turned into, it's a bit different having a business, right? Like a big business with lots of people. Like you couldn't have had 270 PT clients.
Yeah, it's just been a slow progression over the years, I think, where it's like building into something. I think I've worked out about myself that it takes me sometimes a bit of time to get to somewhere. And that's kind of what's happened, really. Like, I knew I wanted to get in the fitness industry. So then I started PTing when I was like 20 or something like that. And then I kind of continued that for like 10 years, just over 10 years. Then getting a gym. And then that was like kind of like the next level. Like, it was PTing. And then by the end of those 10 years, I knew I wasn't going to be able to PT like eight clients a day, like clients at 5 a.m. till 8:30 p.m.
Yeah.
I knew that wasn't sustainable. Like, that was good at that time in life, right? But then, like, me and Haley were getting married, then there were going to be kids, so I always knew I wanted something more. And then having a gym in Australia was always like a dream of mine when we came over. Opportunity arose, and then but I didn't know what I was doing business-wise at all from that perspective. I kind of knew I was okay with building relationships and building rapport with people. I knew I was kind of okay with training methodologies and taking people through that sort of thing. But then actually having a business and developing that business was like not even on my radar really at that point.
Yeah.
It was more like just building a culture and kind of having fun with it, really.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's turned into more of a serious business as I guess I've kind of matured and like kind of grown up a little bit more. I've kind of grown with the business, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine the learnings along that.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like now I'm ready for that next level where you're like not on the gym floor. Like, with this new space opening up, I will be on the gym floor a bit more to start with, but hopefully only a couple shifts a week, like coaching wise. Yeah. And then hopefully I can remove myself from that pretty quickly. Yeah. Because like we've said, one of our goals this year will be to basically neither of us coach. Yeah. Much, unless you want to do a morning or something, then obviously do it. But have the option for neither of us to be coaching and both of us to just be trying to develop the coaches, develop the programming, develop the business, and trying to push it as far as we can go.
Yeah, let the coaches do what they're best at, right?
Yeah, if your owner's the best coach in the gym, you've got a problem.
I think so, yeah.
And that's definitely not the case at Maruba, or actually with our new space either. It's definitely not the case already. So that's a good position to be in.
Completely agree. Did you want to do one more?
Yeah, sure. How are you feeling about getting married in a few weeks' time, mate?
Yeah, about 2 weeks, mate.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's been a pretty. There's obviously a lot to organise for a wedding. You've done that before. And at this stage, I just want to get it done, sort of thing. I want to enjoy, make sure I can enjoy the day. That's one thing I'm concerned about. I don't want to miss it, look back and go, fuck, I didn't stop to really enjoy the day. So yeah, that's one thing I want to make sure I do. I just want to get to the day, get past the set up stressful part, and just like enjoy it. I think it's really cool to most likely there's never going to be a time to have all of those people in the same place. Yeah. I imagine that's pretty unlikely.
It'd be such a unique day. For sure.
Yeah. Having from both of our walks of life all in the one place at the one time is pretty cool. So I'm excited to have that. But yeah, mate, new chapter, which is cool. Feels very grown up.
I'm excited for Luke to be playing as well.
Yeah, my brother's going to be playing a song there, which is cool.
Has he told you what song?
Yeah, we picked it. Yeah.
Is it one we know, or has he written it?
No. We picked a song for him to cover.
What song?
Can't tell you.
Oh,
surprise.
What's a secret?
Yeah. So
nice.
I'm very excited, mate. And then very grown up. It feels like. Yeah. It just feels like I'm excited to be a married man, and then like when we write our business goals out, you know this because we did our business coaching retreat, whenever that was, a couple of months ago. And on there, a lot of my goals, or most of my goals, same as yourself, even though I don't have a family yet, they were very much based around that outlook for having a family. That's I call it the freedom family. So, which is part of how I always think about that when I'm planning business things and planning my life out, how I can ensure it's that way. So yeah, it all ties back in together. But to answer your question, very excited.
Exciting, mate.
Yeah.
Hopefully she turns up, but
yeah, she should be there. She'll probably be late. She's Brazilian, so she'll be late. I'm just hoping everyone else isn't late.
Yeah, I'm buzzing for it, mate.
Yeah, very exciting. I'm gonna wrap it up there.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's our Q&A, guys. Thanks very much if you did listen. Episode 11, like I said, on to the next 100.
Let's go.
Thank you.